and living here. And so that's why people often ask me, there are Beatles stores in Liverpool. People do sometimes say, why a Beatles store in London? They're from Liverpool. And the answer is, well, they lived here. What we're going to do is walk across the road and into a... Top is associated with the Beatles. I sometimes ask people what they think it stands for, MPL. Usually a couple of times people have come quite close. Somebody once said McCartney, Paul and Linda, which wasn't bad actually, because it's McCartney Publishing Limited. These are McCartney's offices, and
still to this day.
To this day, yes, it's still McCartney's offices. What he told me, Bowie, to Queen, to Zeppelin, they've all been here. The reason that the Beatles came here in '67 was that although Abbey Road was, of course, their beloved studios, this studio was 8-track. It meant you could do a lot more in here. So albums like, for example, the White Album, where there's a lot of experimentation going on, they would have done that stuff here, not at Abbey Road. Because they a gentleman's lavatory. Where is he going with this one? 1966, also incidentally the year England won the World Cup. It'll never happen again in my lifetime. This is a time of, if you're a real Beatles aficionado, you get the relevance of this. This is called the Spirit of Soho. We're in the area of Soho now. Soho, incidentally, was this was duck hunting grounds back in the 15th, 16th, 1700s, and they used to shout Soho. You know, if with the horses they shout tally ho. Well, Soho was when they were going hunting ducks. Can't be wicked. Hunting duck. Why Soho? That I don't know. You caught me out. But of course, this is based very famously on the Beatles, arguably the Beatles' best album, an album that has been voted #1 album of all time by the American Billboard. What's the American album? He's left already. He's doing business. So obviously, this is the cover of Sgt. Pepper. You've got the 4 characters here, the Beatles, the clock, and the drum. On the cover of the Beatles album is got standing right behind the drum. My favourite about the Beatles by the press, they know that they were a popular band, they knew that a lot of girls liked them, but beyond that, perhaps not too much. They turn up, press, photographers, and the place is absolutely swamped with teenage and possibly younger girls. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them. And the press couldn't get over this. And so the next day after the show, they put, the headline in the paper was Beatlemania. This is where the term begins, this is where Beatlemania began. And that particular night they had a road manager by the name of Neil. But there was a very specific reason why they did this, why they had to begin investing money in different ways. And that was the age-old thing Woody Allen always says, that the only thing you're sure of in this life is death and taxes. And the taxes, if you were a rock star in the 1960s, were extortionate. 95% tax. I haven't taken you here to look at this bin, by the way, this dustbin. Of course, this is the famous, if you look at the green plug, the famous person who composed here was Edward Elgar and the Beatles. Elgar famous for Pomp and Circumstance, which you might know as Land of Hope and Glory. Bum 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 ba bum 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 bum. So that was Elgar, and because the studio goes back a lot longer, obviously, the Beatles, and he was really the first big name to compose in here. The studios, most of their stuff was done around the other side, the studio that you can't see from the street. But this brown brick one here, some of you may remember that All You Need Is Love was transmitted all over the world by cable at the time. And that is where they performed it, inside that brown brick building there. See everyone getting the cameras out now. Nearly 200 songs recorded here at Abbey Road. The zebra crossing we crossed is where they take the photo, but it wasn't supposed to be originally. Their sound engineer, Jeff Emmerich, was a smoker of a brand of cigarette called Everest. I don't know, people around the time may remember Everest cigarettes. I've never heard of them, but this is a brand smoked at the time. He smoked Everest cigarettes. So the Beatles said, why don't we call the album Everest and go and have a photo taken outside of Mount Everest? And Paul McCartney said, that's a bit far to go for a photo. And then they decided, well, actually, why don't we just do it outside of the studios? And then one of them, I'm not sure which one, does anybody know which one came up with the idea? Possibly Paul again, it's just starting to rain. Said, let's do it on the zebra crossing. Let's have a photo of us crossing the zebra crossing. So, they walked from this side to that. Where the little memorial is in the middle there with those lamps is where Ian Macmillan, the photographer, stood on a ladder and took the photo from this direction. I'm sure that is what you're going to be going to do afterwards.
No. I have a Ford Focus.
Oh yeah. Are you a big one, is it?
A little one. It's not a hatchback, it's a...
Is that big? The leather, they're all looking really cool.
Yeah.
Looking like that. No staring at the camera.
Yeah.
In the second photograph, you want to see the faces on them. And both of those photos are next to each other in the bar room on the wall. So you should check them out. They're both taken in here though. Within about 3 days of each other.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't think so. John Lennon's got the best face though. He's scowling at the camera, you know, like that side.
Yeah.
No one can see them from the school. No one's going to see them. John Lennon, in the Rolling Stone magazine, in the interviews, he said that's where he saw the name Eleanor Rigby. And he said, and what drew his attention to it? There's a couple of things. It says asleep on there. He said that's what made him think. That fascinated him. But the other thing that's weird about it is, if you notice Eleanor Rigby, she died on the 10th of October, 1939. That's 1 year and 1 day before John Lennon was born.
Yeah.
So you can imagine him sitting
He was
there,
probably looking
and he
at it
looked
like...
at that and went, oh, that's weird, you know.